Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm happy to welcome you to our side event on Article 6 lessons from NDC Partnership countries. My name is Axel Michaelova. I represent Perspectives Climate Research. We are proud to be strongly supporting the NDC Partnership with regard to Article 6 issues. And without further ado, I would pass the floor to Amanda McKee from the partnership to give an introduction.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. As Axel said, I'm Amanda Minke. I'm the Director for Knowledge and Learning with the NDC Partnership, and really excited to welcome you to today's event with Perspectives Climate Research. I also want to thank Perspectives for the collaboration that we've had over the past year, really looking at insights and lessons that we can draw on Article 6 and how best to support countries in strengthening their readiness to engage. So for those of you who don't know, the NDC Partnership is a global coalition of over 200 members, 120 country members, both developed and developing, as well as 100 institutional members that we draw together to support requests for support that our country members identify. We've seen over the past years interest and efforts on Article 6 readiness and implementation rapidly growing through the requests that we receive through the partnership. So I'm assuming that everyone who's here has a good understanding or knows what Article 6 is, but just as a quick refresher, Article 6 is the carbon market mechanism of the Paris Agreement, and really enabling countries to take mitigation actions to voluntarily trade carbon credits earned from the reduction of their GHG emissions to other countries and seeking to meet their NDC commitments. So for developing countries, and especially for our members, Article 6 implementation really represents an important opportunity to access climate finance, to access technology, and also capacity building. So we've been working hard with Perspectives to foster learning and better align partner support for activities needed to advance Article 6 implementation. One of the things that we've seen is there's been a proliferation of support, which is a good thing. But in terms of countries accessing it, it can be challenging when there's not common terminology or understanding of the processes. And so we've done a couple of things over the last year. The partnership has held a number of peer exchanges at the regional climate weeks to discuss this and the priorities there. We've had a peer exchange in West Africa together with the RCC for West and Central Africa and the West African Alliance, supported by Canada's Climate Action Africa project. And then we also hosted an expert exchange, or what we call a thematic partner discussion, where we brought together technical experts from across our member organizations to discuss their approach to providing support here. And based on all of that, together with Perspectives, we have developed an Article 6 analytical framework and toolkit. And if you came in earlier, the QR screen was on the screen, and we'll add it back at the end of the event as well if you're interested in viewing that. But the idea of that is to really help our members to assess their priorities, to identify some of the linkages between Article 6 and their climate actions, and then to develop concrete requests that they can bring to the support unit that they can circulate through the partnership so that we can help match the support that they need to really enable them to engage and benefit from Article 6. So today we'll hear some insights from several NDC Partnership members, but I would also invite others in the room who are interested in working on this topic, learning on this topic, to reach out and connect. Finally, with that, I want to wish you a happy event, and I'm going to introduce Paris, who is a researcher with Perspectives Climate Research, who will lead us through today's presentation on Article 6, the Article 6 readiness framework, and set the scene for today's discussion. So Paris, I think I'm turning it over to you. Okay.
Thank you, Amanda, and thank you all for joining us today. So as Amanda mentioned, I am Paris, and I am with Perspective Climate Research. And now I'll be taking you through some slides that we prepared for this. Bear with us. Perfect. Thank you so much. Yes. So just a quick background, as Amanda mentioned, we worked between May and April last year on developing a framework that went into analyzing all the NDC requests that NDCP received from the countries. Yeah, we use the Nuke database that I hope each one of us is familiar with, or I can also briefly explain what it is. So it's a tool that NDCP uses to receive requests from countries. Yeah, so to assess or to analyze these requests, we analyzed 23 countries that submitted support requests to NDCP on Article 6. So out of this 23 countries, we received, or rather we analyzed 38 requests that touched on Article 6. And most of the support focused on the technical and capacity building. So on technical assistance, countries were asking on the provision of consulting services, hiring professionals to help with the development of legal framework, and also with capacity building, we've seen countries asking to receive support on enhancing institutional capacities on Article 6. So some of the key aspects that was analyzed or that we found out is that we majorly categorized the requests into 5 main topics. So these are the Article 6 strategy development, where we saw 11 countries requesting for this support. And then we have development of national registries coming in as well, but also the use of Article 6 for NDC achievement was the most requested support from countries. So other requests include cooperative approaches under Article 6.2, which we also see countries coming up and signing bilateral agreements under Article 6.2. So on the support that we analyzed that the countries received through the NDCP, so we had 32 implementing partners that were in all different fields, so from international development agencies to NGOs that offered support. And 25 of these implementing partners confirmed support, and 17 indicated support as well. So as I mentioned, multilateral institutions were the key providers of the support. And it's also worth noting that not all implementing partners that confirmed or indicated support were members of the NDCP. So we had about 2 that were NDCP non-members. Great. So we also have a graph on the right side. So this also represents the regions that submitted requests for support letters. So we can see Sub-Saharan Africa coming in at 37%. So this is the largest region that requested support on Article 6 implementation. And then we can also see Latin America coming in at 2nd, and East Asia and the Pacific region coming in 3rd. So it's also good to note that this data was pulled in May of this year. So what does support of Article 6 look like? So I think to kind of understand what Article 6 means, we also need to get into what readiness means. So readiness refers to the ability of a party to the Paris Agreement to take full advantage of international-based cooperation in the context of the Article 6 framework, and the mechanisms under Article 6.2 and 6.4 of the Paris Agreement. So really, what this means is that readiness requires enabling policy frameworks as well as strengthening institution responsibilities to kind of achieve the requirements and interaction in both Article 6 as a whole. So the framework that we develop, which I will also speak on just a bit later, is on building blocks that we developed for Article 6 readiness. So this was also developed, through our experience in Article 6 and also collaboration with, different knowledge platforms. And then, so how do countries meet Article 6 requirements? So each country has their own way of interpreting Article 6, and each country can define, how it will participate under Article 6 according to its own priorities and circumstances. And, by providing cross-cutting, by providing a comprehensive grasp of the building blocks and their sub-elements, these cross-cutting contributions, like alignment with the NDCs and existing MRV procedures, are also crucial to boost Article 6 preparation efforts. So in the next slide, we'll just speak a bit on what this tool looks like and, how countries can use this. And also it's a disclaimer is that you don't have to be a technical expert to use this tool. So also some good news is that the tool will be available at the start of 2024. So I think the NDCP will communicate this in due time. So we have three major objectives of the tool. So one is to clarify the prerequisites and relevant requirements for operationalization. It's a hard word, Article 6, and also is to support countries to identify various elements that fall under the umbrella of Article 6. And third, the tool helps countries to outline a pathway to become Article 6 ready and to map out the support required, which is kind of where NDCP comes in with matching the support. So this looks very intimidating, but it's kind of how we've categorized Article 6 readiness. And on the left side, we have 5 major building blocks. And I'll just briefly go over each, and then with their sub-elements just quickly, and then as well as the cross-cutting consideration and their interlinkages. So on the first building blocks, it's on strategic consideration. So this is kind of like the preliminary steps that countries can take to engage in Article 6. So this can also include capacity building, also developing a carbon market strategy, and also coming up with an eligibility criteria that we've seen countries do, the positive lists and all that. And then we have the second building blocks, that's on legal foundation and governance, which also legitimizes the governing institutions in countries and how they create legal conditions for participation under Article 6. And then we also have the institutional arrangement, which goes to enable countries to establish institutional arrangements for definition of roles and responsibilities within governments to to follow the obligations they have under Article 6. And then we also have the operational procedures. So this is more technical, and procedural. So it's mostly, making procedures for validation, reporting, the MRV. And last but not least, we have the infrastructure. So kind of like the hardware, including tools and instruments such as the databases required to, kind of underpin the operational procedures that I mentioned just before. I think one thing that I would mention here in this graph is that we also have the cross-cutting consideration. So we see the NDC alignment and MRV procedures, also overlapping and, pretty much touching on the building blocks. And I think it's also good to mention that these building blocks that we've presented do not indicate or dictate the priority of Article 6, or rather of countries. So, each country should have their own way of interpreting what Article 6 readiness means for them. And I think that's pretty much it. I hope this was clear. And I would like to hand it over back to Amanda, I think or Axel, back for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and for setting the scene. And so you see, we have this generic building blocks, and now we'll illustrate it with specific country examples. We have the three frontrunners on the NDCP, which are the three, two Ps and one B. So we have Palestine, Burkina Faso, and Paraguay. And I would invite Laila Darwish from Perspectives Climate Research to start with the Palestine case.
Thank you, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, and as Axel said, I'm also from Perspectives, and I was leading the Article 6 work that we did with Palestine for the last 1.5 years. We focused on Article 6 readiness that we did together with the Palestinians, and in this work we really started with considering what Palestine is. Can we move the slides? Okay. So yeah, where did we start in Palestine? So in the beginning, when we started to talk about it, it was really, it became obvious that for the Palestinians, the barrier to start with Article 6 was higher, since they didn't participate in the past in market mechanisms, and not in the voluntary carbon market, and also not in the CDM and others. So what they then planned, beginning of 2021, was to engage with the NDC Partnership on saying, okay, they had a request for support letter, and then luckily we found this collaboration in which we helped them to engage. And this was all under the framework that they wanted to really increase the NDC targets, and they had also an updated NDC published just last year. And they saw that Article 6 is a good way for them to increase finance coming in the country. So what we then said is, okay, first, if you want to engage and you don't have any prior knowledge with carbon markets, then you need Article 6 readiness. And that Paris already explained that Article 6 readiness means that you need the capacities and systems in place to build the frameworks and know all the procedures to really then start engaging with the international stakeholders for Article 6.2 and 6.4. And our plan for the 1.5 years, which are finalizing now in December, was to build an action plan. And in this action plan, we wanted to outline the sectors that are relevant in the Palestinian context for Article 6, prospective ITMO prices, and also how the institutional framework for Article 6 could look like, and capacity building programs that are out there, and what can be used in the Palestinian context. So to start that, we had a workflow with 4 major pillars. And we started with looking at the experiences that other countries had with Article 6 preparations. Okay, sorry. And we looked at 2 different kinds of countries. One advanced, pioneering country in the sense of with Article 6 preparations, and that was Ghana. And then 2 countries, Jordan and Egypt, that had similar or have similar framework conditions as Palestine. In the next step, we looked then at Article 6 guiding tools that are out there, for example, from the UNFCCC, from the World Bank and others, that really can inform the institutional structure for Article 6 decision-making in Palestine. In March this year, we started then to have a mission in Palestine. We've been in Ramallah and had 2 very good workshops with local stakeholders, and the purpose here was to identify the pilot sectors, know all the stakeholders, build capacity in the country to really understand, for them to understand what Article 6 can give them, what benefits does it have, and what do they need to do next. So that was really the foundation for then the action plan that we then delivered in the last phase to really be ready to then, in the next step, probably or hopefully next year, implement the action plan. So the action plan is here outlined in its steps, and it is basically built on 5 subsequent main steps and 1 decisive pre-step, sorry. So the first one, this pre-step is really to decide for a country that didn't have prior experiences with carbon markets, and maybe also has challenging conditions as we have in Palestine, that we saw, okay, if you want to have a full engagement or a more that we call the proactive engagement or more a reactive approach. So in the proactive approach, the government would take a leading role, and it would have a full implementation framework. It would proactively go and engage with stakeholders, and have a bit more. It needs a bit more people and more engagement. And the reactive approach is more, we called it the laissez-faire approach, in which the country, in Palestine in this case, is open for discussions, but seeks to reduce really the transaction costs and aims more to rely on what is internationally already out there to help a country. So, for example, the carbon crediting frameworks and standards. So then the next steps are outlined here, and then really these are the main steps that you need for Article 6 and readiness in our perspective, and they are really then starting with the development of a framework of the strategy, and then identify which sectors are really key for the country, and looking at the activity types that are relevant. Then, so these are not subsequent in time, they can overlap as well. So the strategy development and the policy can go hand in hand, but we put it next to each other because the strategy should really guide the way and decide how you want to engage and what are also the responsibilities allocated to the different ministries, and then the policy, that feeds into the policy. And then the institutional framework development, that is then really the next step of really then going into more detail what it means for the country and who has which roles, and the technical experts and the working groups. And then the last step is then the infrastructural setup that you need, and that would basically lead Palestine to achieve Article 6 readiness. And this was all outlined in this action plan that we submitted. And maybe now a bit more details on the key, not the barriers maybe, or the challenges that we saw in the beginning, and what progress we have made with regards to that in the one and a half years that we spent together, is really that, as I said before, Palestine didn't have the prior experience. So it is definitely harder for a country without this knowledge and without these capacities in the country to start with that. It's also a convincing work that you have to do in the beginning. Convince all the people in the different ministries and also the private sector that this can really benefit the country. So this is not always given. Then, the limited awareness that is connected to the experience. Of course, if you didn't work with it before, then you're not aware of the opportunities, and the political buy-in might not be there. Then limited resources, being it human, technical and financial, is also not really helping with that. Then, because if you want to have one person designated for that, you need also the money to make this person build their capacity and build these frameworks and be engaged. So, what we in this work with the Palestinians could do was really, or we hope, build capacity. So we had knowledge products that we built. We showed them. We built a catalog of different capacity building knowledge products and programs where they can find knowledge. And in this context, together with the NDC Partnership, we translated one key document for Article 6, the Article 6 Pocket Guide, into Arabic, because we think this is a crucial barrier for many countries in the MENA region, especially to engage in Article 6, because they do not have the knowledge products in their own language. And I think this is really crucial. So progress we also made with regards to identifying some key sectors, and then outlining what has to be done in the action plan. I think this will help them to get closer to know what are the exact next steps to do. What challenges remain? I think this is clear to everyone here. The current political and the war that is ongoing is not helping with making progress. Then resources and capabilities in the country are also a constraint, and the still limited knowledge products that are out there. So these are still challenges that need to be resolved. And I make it quick. So we think the next steps for Palestine concrete should be climb the capacity building ladder, use the knowledge products that we identified, engage in every possible way in Article 6 capacity building programs, then prepare the Article 6 strategy and go into the sectors and try to find these pilot activities, and then develop these pilot activities and together with international partners who are interested in the country. And I think we hope we find many of those. So with that I would close and I'll pass over to my colleagues.
Thank you, Laila. Donc maintenant, je vais inviter Mominata Compaoré du Burkina. Donc le Burkina, comme pays francophone, naturellement, a des défis particuliers. Donc, je vous invite de partager vos expériences. Donc, j'espère que la technologie marche. Oui, vous avez la parole.
Ok, bonjour tout le monde et merci de m'avoir invité à ce panel. Je vois que mes prédécesseurs, en tout cas mes collègues, ont beaucoup fait, surtout la Palestine. Ils sont bien avancés. Nous, on est encore au beau début de cet article 6 et nous apprenons beaucoup du MDP. Donc, je m'en vais vous partager à peu près ce que nous avons au niveau du Burkina et ce sur quoi nous sommes en train de travailler ces derniers temps. Je suis Mominata Compaoré du Burkina Faso. Voilà, donc la mise en œuvre de l'article 6 au Burkina est basée, comme je le disais, sur notre expérience du mécanisme pour un développement propre. Et à travers ce mécanisme, nous avons fait la promotion d'un marché de carbone. Et cela est passé par un diagnostic de la situation du MDP, du potentiel de carbone que nous avons au Burkina dans les différents secteurs comme la foresterie, l'agriculture, les ressources animales, l'énergie, l'industrie, le transport ainsi que les déchets. Nous avons également fait à travers une étude des propositions d'action pour le développement en fait du potentiel de séquestration des gaz à effet de serre ou encore des projets de réduction usant en tout cas des technologies de développer des technologies propres. Nous avons également un portefeuille éligible au financement MDP et qui prend en compte des idées de projets en lien avec le développement socio-économique des populations vulnérables. Et également, nous avons une structure, autorité nationale désignée pour un mécanisme propre, à travers la structure dans laquelle je travaille, le secrétariat permanent du Conseil national pour le développement durable, et avec un point focal AND. Donc, voilà. Et toujours parlant du MDP au Burkina, il faut noter qu'une grande part des activités, en tout cas de tous les pays d'Afrique de l'Ouest, avec 25 activités à ce jour, ou des petites activités, ont été, notamment dans le domaine des foyers améliorés, sont attribués au Burkina, au niveau de l'Afrique de l'Ouest, pour dire que nous avons en tout cas un potentiel. Nous avons eu à soumettre un certain nombre d'activités. Nous avons délivré un certain nombre de lettres de non-objection pour que ces activités-là puissent être éligibles au crédit carbone. Et avec 35 activités qui étaient en cours de validation encore il n'y a pas très longtemps, il y a une grande partie en tout cas des nouvelles activités qui rentrent dans le pipeline de l'UCR et qui sont attribuées au Burkina Faso. Mais le nombre de ces activités-là n'ont pas un bon taux de réduction de gaz à effet de serre. Et bon, ça fait que la question de la transition de ces activités du MDP vers le mécanisme pour un développement propre peut être en tout cas un peu, on va dire, compliqué. Ça soulève cette question-là. Ce qui nous amène à voir quels sont les différents défis que nous avons à faire la transition par rapport à toute l'expérience que nous avons dans le cadre du MDP. Et pour faire cette transition, nous, comme je le disais, nous sommes basés sur le MDP et le mécanisme de l'article 6 peut avoir comme appui, comme baseline, qu'il y a eu une opportunité de coopération internationale pour l'atténuation au changement climatique. Il y a la mobilisation des ressources que nous devons faire pour pouvoir atteindre la partie conditionnelle de nos CDN. Il y a également un soutien financier et des investissements en vue. Et le Burkina Faso est engagé en fait en tant que pays pilote sous le crédit normalisé le cadre normalisé d'octroi de crédit avec la Banque mondiale et avec l'objectif de développer en tout cas une activité pilote de l'article 6 sur la question des biodigesteurs. Et ce qui nous amène en tout cas à prendre nos premiers pas dans l'article 6. Et pour ces premiers pas-là, nous avons des challenges, nous avons des défis. Et nos challenges et nos défis, c'est que le mécanisme n'est pas encore opérationnel. Les promoteurs n'ont pas trop confiance à l'expertise du MDP. Donc, il y a des renforcements de capacités qui sont nécessaires à ce niveau pour les expliquer les avantages de cette transition et tout ce qu'il y a dans l'article 6 aujourd'hui et qui est offert en tant que crédit carbone, en tant que mécanisme de financement. Il y a aussi le fait que on doit définir les types d'activités par rapport à notre CDN. Il faut également que nous puissions analyser notre CDN et que nous puissions faire une évaluation, en tout cas, des différents projets et que nous voyons les risques de participation des activités qui sont dans notre CDN, que nous les amenions vers les questions des crédits carbone, afin que nous ne nous éloignions pas de l'objectif que nous nous sommes fixés dans notre CDN, qui est pour la CDN révisée de 29%. Et nous avons également les lourdeurs administratives qui sont là. Nous avons la nécessité d'un cadre juridique et réglementaire que nous devons mettre en place et nous ne devons pas oublier les priorités du pays, les circonstances spéciales du pays, parce que nous sommes un pays en développement et nous avons besoin de mettre en place des projets de développement. Certes, les questions de marché carbone vont nous appuyer à pouvoir financer des choses, mais ça ne doit pas s'écarter aussi des questions de développement ou en tout cas la vue de développement durable en gros. Et tout ça, ce sont les défis que nous traversons, qui font face à nous et que nous devons chercher à relever. Mais nous sommes quand même rentrés de plein pied dedans et nous sommes en tout cas en train de travailler en équipe pour voir comment est-ce qu'on peut mettre en œuvre cet article 6. Et nous sommes accompagnés par Climate Perspective à travers l'Alliance ouest-africaine des marchés carbone et de la finance climatique. Et dans ce cadre-là, nous sommes partis sur l'existant, comme je l'ai présenté tout à l'heure, sur ce que nous avons appris du MDP et comment est-ce que nous allons partir de là pour avancer. Et là, l'existant que nous avons, c'est surtout l'existence de cette autorité nationale désignée pour un mécanisme propre. Nous avons un guide MDP qui peut être actualisé selon les mécanismes de l'article 6. Nous avons également une étude que nous avons faite cette année sur le potentiel du pays en matière de projets de réduction ou de séquestration de gaz à effet de serre. Et le manuel de procédure dont je parlais tantôt fait ressortir le processus d'approbation pour les différents projets, mais également le rôle de tous les acteurs qui sont impliqués. Ce qui veut dire qu'il y a une base qui est là. Et quand nous allons partir, en tout cas nous sommes déjà dedans, ce serait encore plus simple de pouvoir s'appuyer sur ça, d'actualiser ce que nous avons avec le MDP pour pouvoir le mettre à jour selon les mécanismes de l'article 6. Et bon, comme les mécanismes ne sont pas encore finis, que les discussions continuent, on sait un peu sur quel pied on va danser à moitié, mais pas totalement. Voilà. Donc, pour les prochaines étapes, comme je le disais, nous travaillons avec Climate Perspective pour savoir comment est-ce que nous allons partir vers cet article 6. Et nous avons dans notre... dans nos activités, un décret sur le système de mesure, rapportage et vérification qui va servir de base aussi et sur lesquels on pourra s'appuyer pour la préparation du pays. Nous avons également commencé une étude qui qui a analysé à peu près le cadre juridique au niveau du Burkina Faso pour voir comment est-ce que la question du carbone peut s'imbriquer dans le cadre et quel peut être le cadre juridique le plus approprié pour les questions de droit carbone, parce que nous ne devions pas oublier les populations à la base. Et également, nous avons une infrastructure que nous pensons pouvoir mettre en place avec l'appui de Climate Perspective, parce que nous avons déjà commencé à travailler à l'élaboration d'une feuille de route, si je peux l'appeler ainsi. Et cette feuille de route-là, elle va prendre en compte le cadre institutionnel approprié, elle va prendre en compte les aspects techniques, les besoins en renforcement de capacité, elle va prendre en compte la nécessité ou pas d'un registre carbone national, comment est-ce que ce registre-là peut correspondre au niveau régional et même un peu plus loin, pour avoir une idée de tout ce qui est crédit ou activité ou projet qui peut rentrer dans le domaine de l'article 6 et pouvoir bien suivre et être sûr que nous ne nous éloignons pas ni des objectifs de notre CDN ni de notre objectif de développement durable à terme. Il y a également la question de la stratégie d'intervention. En gros, comment est-ce qu'on va prendre la question de l'article 6, les interventions, le cadre institutionnel et technique, bon, j'en ai déjà parlé, voilà. Ce sont les différentes étapes, voilà. Et nous avons également la question de l'alignement avec les CDN, je parlais tantôt. Et nous avons également commencé à penser au développement d'une tarification carbone en tant qu'instrument économique qu'on peut utiliser pour pouvoir réorienter les investissements vers des technologies à faible émission de carbone et concrétiser les objectifs d'atténuation qui sont définis dans la CDN. Donc voilà un peu, c'est comme je le disais au début, nous n'avons pas grande expérience, nous sommes en train de nous avancer vers cet article 6, mais notre expérience est basée sur le MDP, duquel nous avons beaucoup appris, duquel nous avons beaucoup émis des lettres de non-objection pour les projets. Et voilà, nous allons vers ça et nous sommes accompagnés par des acteurs et des structures. Donc voilà en gros la substance de ma présentation et je vous remercie.
Merci beaucoup, Mominata. Donc, so we will now come to our third case study, which will be Paraguay. So I'm inviting Fiorella Orejoni to give us the Paraguayan experience. You have the floor.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm really happy to be here. First of all, I want to thank the NDC Partnership for all the support that has provided to our country since the update of the NDC back in 2021 and also through this project and another project that we are working in the implementation of the NDC mainly. So if we can have the slide on this. Oh, sorry, yes. My bad. So yeah. And the project that we're implementing in Paraguay is mainly focused on enhancing the capacity that we have in terms of Article 6, but always taking into consideration that we must accomplish our NDC. So the project is divided in 4 phases mainly. So in the first phase, we work together with perspective to define our priorities and set a work plan for the project. In the second phase, or phase 1 in here, we did an analytical review in where we kind of set the baseline on how to move forward. We analyze our legal framework, how this existing legal framework relates to carbon markets in general. We also kind of analyze all the Article 6 decisions. And in phase 2, that we are right now, we are working on a guidance to kind of state how we can move forward to fully implement Article 6 in our country. And phase 3, we have started and we have pending some other trainings, but I'm gonna get to these in the next slides. So the reason why we request support to the NDC in 2022, and were 3 mainly. The first one, we have like limited clarity in how our existing legal framework in terms of environment and also to the forestry sector or ecosystem-based payments relates to an Article 6. So we want kind of to set that knowledge. And also because we have limited knowledge about all the implications of implementing Article 6, like that we need to do an initial report, update initial report, we have to have a registry, we have to have like a corresponding adjustment. There's like a whole work that we need to do. So we wanted to make sure that we were considering everything to make this market work. And also, we kind of wanted to make all the different actors in Paraguay to understand what means carbon markets, not only Article 6, but also the voluntary carbon market. So how this project is addressing all of these challenges or barriers. So we have been conducting trainings or workshops. We did two build-front trainings and one on-site training. So we invite different actors or different stakeholders from private sector, public sector, academia, and civil society in general. And we have an average of 120 people of each of these workshops, which we think is good. And another workshop is pending for next year. We also have been conducting bilateral interviews with project owners, project developers, and also other kind of an office from inside the Ministry of the Environment to get their feeling, their insight, and what they are also expecting from us in terms of Article 6. The project has also provided advisory to the National Directorate of Climate Change, and it has hired a consultant that is working directly in all these market-related activities. Also, the project has provided some guidance and recommendation to the carbon markets law that was enacted in Paraguay in October this year, which is a pretty new law. And right now it's working on providing some guidance on how to operationalize Article 6, because 2 days ago, our minister has signed an MOU with UAE related to Article 6.2, and we are also envisioned to sign next year an agreement with Singapore. So we believe that we have to have all the arrangement in place to move forward. So which one are the challenges that still remain? So of course, we need a lot of infrastructure in terms of we need to have a registry. We need this registry to be interconnected with the international registry and all the other registry in Article 6. And as I already mentioned, we have a new law. We have to make this law we have to define the processes and to implement the Article 6 in our country. And of course, we are working on capacity building activities, but we need more capacity building. We need to kind of level the field of knowledge between all the actors or stakeholders that are in Paraguay. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So now we've set the scene with the presentations from 3 continents and, of course, countries of very different types and sizes and economies. So you see, no one size fits all. We need to really approach this in a way that enables to take into account the national circumstances. So I would now invite our panelists to the panel. So we have Ahmed Abu Taher from Palestine. We have Ona Mominata de Burkina. We have Fiorella. And we have Mohamed Boussaid from the NDC Partnership, who is responsible for the Middle East, North Africa, and also Francophone country region. So I'm really happy to have you here. So the topic of the discussion we've heard the presentations. So what are the lessons for future capacity building? What are the tools that are needed? And how can international organizations like the NDC Partnership enable peer-to-peer learning? You heard from Amanda that, of course, there are now attempts to have this transversal level of learning, and I'm looking very much forward to that discussion and seeing, of course, also the large audience. I would like this to be interactive. So you've heard some presentations from the panelists. Also, you've heard what the NDC Partnership is doing. So I would actually, before coming in myself, invite here the audience to come in. So if you have questions to our panelists, you've heard them, you know what they represent. I would give you the precedence. I, of course, have a few questions myself, but so, floor is open. Anyone who would like to come in? Quelqu'un qui veut intervenir pour poser des questions? Je pense que, oui, on peut mélanger les deux langues. So, yeah, feel free to come in. Anyone who would like? Ah, it's, yeah, good. So, donc...
Oui, bonjour, merci, je me présente. Barazé Abdoulorazak de la Banque agricole du Niger, entité nationale accréditée au Fonds d'adaptation du Niger. Par rapport à cela, j'aimerais savoir quel est le rôle, nous par exemple, l'approche du Burkina en tout cas est très proche de la nôtre probablement, quel rôle nous pourrions jouer dans l'activité d'identification d'activités apportées au niveau du NDC Partnership pour qu'on puisse, qu'il soit éligible pour le marché carbone. Aujourd'hui, si le Niger a fait le choix de choisir une banque, effectivement, comme entité nationale accréditée, c'est pour pouvoir aller vers le marché carbone. Quelle est l'approche que vous nous préconisez? Et maintenant, la seconde question, c'est au niveau du NDC. Pour que cela se fasse, est-ce qu'il faut forcément que ce soit porté par une entité, par l'État, le gouvernement, ou le secteur privé aussi pourrait être partenaire de cette activité? Je vous remercie.
Merci pour la question. Peut-être la priorité aux francophones, mais je pense que aussi les anglophones peuvent répondre en anglais et on va avoir la traduction. Donc, so, yeah.
Très bien. Merci beaucoup pour la question très pertinente par rapport aux entités qui sont déjà accréditées, aux agences qui sont déjà accréditées dans les pays. Et on se pose la question, quel est leur rôle dans la mise en œuvre c'est-à-dire de marché carbone au niveau du pays. Alors, comme on a entendu dans les présentations, c'est-à-dire en termes de besoins, que ce soit de rangement institutionnel, ou de développement de procédures pour la mise en œuvre des recommandations du marché carbone, il y a beaucoup à faire. Il y a beaucoup à faire, d'où ça veut dire qu'on a besoin de tout le monde. Donc, on a entendu l'expérience de la Côte d'Ivoire, avec notamment leur expérience dans le MDP, et qui a permis d'asseoir au niveau du pays une certaine capacité, une certaine expertise, et de développer des procédures qui maintenant sont utilisées dans le cadre de développement de mécanismes de l'article 6. Donc les agences qui sont au niveau du pays et qui sont accréditées peuvent également avoir un rôle. Bien sûr, dans le cas de votre agence, il est accrédité, vous l'avez dit, au fonds d'adaptation, mais c'est une institution qui peut être, bien sûr, contribuer avec son expertise qu'il a développée sur des aspects, soit relatifs au développement des projets, à l'identification des projets, ou comme institution membre de l'autorité nationale désignée, si le pays décide d'asseoir ou de mettre en place une autorité nationale désignée pour l'article 6. Donc, je vois bien de telles agences jouer ce rôle-là. Une autre opportunité serait que ces agences peuvent voir leur mandat élargi pour couvrir d'autres aspects au lieu de recréer vraiment des institutions de zéro, sachant que, vu la complexité des besoins au niveau que les pays doivent satisfaire et mettre en place, il faut essayer de choisir une approche qui permet d'économiser, de faire des raccourcis et d'utiliser toutes les compétences disponibles. C'est ce que je vois comme opportunité de ces agences qui sont déjà accréditées au niveau des pays et qui peuvent avoir accès au fonds d'adaptation, et peut-être il y a des fast track, il y a des raccourcis à faire pour vous si vous voulez accéder aussi au fonds vert pour le climat. Il y a des procédures qui vous permettent de le faire et d'accéder rapidement. Et donc vous devez normalement et en principe déjà avoir, c'est-à-dire passer par l'exercice de répondre aux exigences, par exemple, sociales, environnementales, et d'avoir certains standards en termes de gestion des budgets, ce qui vous qualifie très bien à jouer un rôle très important également dans les mécanismes de marché carbone.
Merci, Mohamed. Vous voulez intervenir?
Oui, bon, il a dit beaucoup, je vais aller vite. Et nous travaillons avec, par exemple, la Banque mondiale pour le cadre normalisé de crédit. Et ils accompagnent certaines structures à pouvoir développer des méthodologies qu'ils qu'ils aimeraient peut-être aussi mettre à l'échelle. Ça peut être un rôle aussi que vous pouvez jouer. Mais en termes d'approche, si j'ai bien compris ce que je veux dire, ce que vous voulez dire plutôt, ce serait bien que le mécanisme soit géré au niveau gouvernemental déjà, pour déjà avoir une vue large en fait de tout ce qui est fait en termes de crédit carbone. Voilà, pour qu'on sache ce qui sort, ce qui rentre, qu'on ait une vue là-dessus. Mais ça ne veut pas dire qu'on ferme les barrières pour les potentiels acheteurs ou vendeurs, parce qu'il faut quand même qu'on puisse engranger des financements pour d'autres domaines. Voilà, donc on peut, le gouvernement peut s'en charger, mais on part ensemble en tant que partie prenante où chacun a un rôle bien défini et tout va de la stratégie d'approche adoptée par chaque pays. Et en fonction de cette stratégie d'approche, chacun peut avoir un rôle à jouer et vous en tant qu'entité accréditée, pouvez également jouer un rôle pour mettre en face les acheteurs et les vendeurs aussi, pour en tout cas ou aider les gens à pouvoir peut-être agir sur les marchés volontaires ou voilà, à pouvoir rencontrer peut-être certaines structures à ce niveau-là. Voilà ce que je peux ajouter.
Oui, merci beaucoup. So I saw a second question in the back.
So, thank you very much, first of all, for the presentation. I'm Domenico Vito from Paribs Observatory. My question is about the role of capacity building regarding the implementation of the project. So, which challenges and also which opportunity did you find in like implementing the part of capacity building that is very needed, especially in this phase on, you can say, running on of the project of Article 6? And also, if possible, a question regarding if in your experience you have some project under Article 6 related to the health sector and health co-benefits mitigation. Thank you.
Thank you. Who would like to come in? Maybe I would invite Ahmed, because I think the Palestine is a particular case and is facing challenges that probably few other countries are facing. So I would invite you to come in.
Thank you, but we are still in the baby space, baby steps.
Yeah. It's
Still we are in the baby steps regarding the Article 6. But yes, you are right. We need a lot of capacity building. Till now, we have during the implementation of the project, even our cabinet formulate what we call the National Carbon Trade Committee. But even the committee, they have, unfortunately, no knowledge about the situation and about the carbon trading and about Article 6 or Article 6.2 or Article 6.4. So we use the opportunity of perspective, developing the roadmap in order at least to aware them about specific terminologies regarding the carbon market and carbon trading. Regarding the health sector, still we don't implement anything in that regard, but at least one of the members of the committee is from the Minister of Health. Regarding the other partner counterparts, we work with the World Bank in order to develop what we call the MRV system. And now we customize the same system for Jordan to Palestine, but still we don't start the entering of data. So I think we have a lot of challenges, but we are still learning.
Thank you very much, Ahmed. Anyone else who would like to come in? Yes, please.
So in terms of challenges, when talking about capacity building, we think that Article 6 and the voluntary carbon market is always evolving. There are always like new methodologies, new terms, so it's really hard to be update. So the programs or the programs that we build also have to be flexible. And in all this scheme, we have to guarantee transparency. We have to establish a robust MRB system. Also to make sure that the civil society, also the press, believe and have credibility in the market. Without credibility, we think that this market is not going to work. So we feel that flexibility and transparency are key in capacity building too.
Thank you very much, Fiordella. So I would invite further questions or comments. I see none, so I have one question to Fiordella. So you mentioned you have just signed the Memorandum of Understanding with UAE, the host country, on 6.2. So I wanted to get your view. Has the support that you've received in the context of the NDC partnership enabled you to engage with the UAE in a way that is different from the way you would have done without that support?
Yes, so I believe support and guidance on how to implement Article 6 it's key, and so it was useful in the process. We are still in a super incipient phase, so we have to do a lot of things. So right now we are like, as Palestine mentioned, like baby steps. So we have a lot of work ahead, and we will appreciate support, capacity building, technology transfer, finance, everything that can be provided to us to really make this system work in a transparent, robust way.
Thank you very much. So I would now give the last opportunity, last question before we have to, yeah, please.
Okay, my name is Dastan. I came from Kyrgyzstan, and exactly my question is for you as well. In terms of, we are talking now a couple of funding about availability, support. I saw that in some cases PAF. Can you a bit elaborate which kind of opportunities are there, in which kind of sources maybe come further readiness project funding, if, for example, Kyrgyzstan will like to apply for that kind of opportunity as well, or for other countries as well? Thank you.
Mohamed, please.
Thank you also for this interesting question. Let me just comment on the first question about the barriers for in terms of capacity building. As we heard from the presentation of the case of Iraq, of Palestine, there was a problem with language barrier. I think this is also not only for the Arab region, but also for the Francophone region. This is one of the outcomes also that came out, this peer-to-peer exchange workshop that we had in May this year. And the language barrier is important, but also there is a barrier because the type of expertise or knowledge that countries need spans over different types and topics. You need support and terminology in terms of regulations and laws. You need support, technical support on MRV indicators, databases. You need support on other aspects related to institutional development, institutional sense. So it's a variety of needs and constraints. So this is why I think it's important that the country develops also a strategy on capacity building, how to develop the capacity of different stakeholders. You need also to develop the capacity of different stakeholders. You have the private sector that has to be informed and needs the capacity to be strong and know what he can have as role in carbon market. You have another type of stakeholder, which is the government, and that needs to have a strong knowledge and develop regulation and set the institutional arrangement that are needed, but also other actors can play a role in carbon market. You need to work with the international level. So I think having a strategy for capacity building is also needed in parallel with the development of the roadmap. Regarding your question about the opportunities that are there, of course, there are many opportunities, and maybe other colleagues can also come in to respond to your question. But especially through the NDC partnership, what we try to do, and Amanda talked on that when in her presentation, we did an exercise of mapping of the providers of support that are there. We try to have regular calls with the providers of support, because our mission is to match the support with the needs that we receive from our country members. So we are in this process. We did already a mapping of the support. We do not pretend that it is comprehensive. We are still working on that, and we also try to mobilize through our mechanism, our existing mechanism for member countries, when they express like a request for support. We of course have our mechanism. We circulate those requests to our members to respond to the demands of the countries, and if those countries are not responded, we can also take them to the partnership action fund and support this. So
yes, thank you very much, Mohamed. We are coming to the close of our event. I was thrilled to see so much interest on the very last day of the COP. So stay tuned for NDCP support of Article 6. And of course, for those who want to also look at other sources, I think the Article 6 Implementation Partnership of Japan has an event tonight at 6:30. So that might also be interesting. So thanks a lot, and looking forward to continuing these discussions also beyond this COP and COP29. Photo. Lala, come. Paris, come.